interviewing Mr. Ryan Dick. He's the director of GIGABASE. He'll tell us a little bit about his business, his concept, and how his idea gets started, and his word of advice to give to other social entrepreneurs who are just starting out.
Oh, great. Thanks for the introduction. As Guy mentioned, my name's Ryan. I co-founded a company called GIGABASE, and what we do is we make it really easy for architects and designers to find greener and healthier materials in China. So we run a web platform, and we connect the buyers, which are the designers, with the suppliers, who are the manufacturers. And by aggregating the demand of the designers, we're able to then push that to the manufacturers to show that there's a cause and a reason to have cleaner and healthier products. So that's the product that we're working on. I'm sorry, I forgot one of the other questions. What gave us the idea? Was one?
Yeah, well,
okay.
How did you get started with the idea, and why did you move to China?
Okay. Well, I was already in China actually, and I was working as an architect on projects, and we would design. What I studied partly in school was sustainable design and sustainable building, green building, and we would design these great projects, but we had no materials to put in them. So what we needed is a resource to actually create demand. So what we actually started with was this really simple database that was not interactive, and it was something we did just in our own office, in our own architecture company. And we realized after a month we had 5,000 users, 5,000 unique users in a really short amount of time without any promotion. So we knew that the topic and the issue was really catchy and interesting for people and could help a lot more people. So that's when we decided to develop it and make it into something a bit more powerful and a bit more useful. So funding didn't come right away. The way we did it is we've actually been bootstrapping for almost 4 years now. That's not true. We bootstrapped entirely for 2 years. Then we received a small amount of philanthropic investment, and that went for a while, and then we've had a couple small rounds with family and friends, but in the shortfalls we're still pushing by bootstrapping and doing it ourselves and making money on architecture to then dump back into the platform. And the reason is we really believe in the vision of what we have, and we want to make sure that we find like-minded investors. So we've been really patient about who we work with and who we deal with. So, but what keeps us going is, and I guess a word of recommendation was the other thing you were asking for. When we talk about our work and we see people get excited, that's what keeps us going. And additionally, it also is what improves what we do, because we're really building a platform that works with a lot of different people and a lot of different inputs. So for anyone that's a new entrepreneur and a new social entrepreneur, and actually every entrepreneur is a social entrepreneur because every business touches social aspects. So I think it's silly that we do have this, it's sort of silly that we call things social entrepreneurship, because everything is a social business. It's just what your level of impact is the question. That's all the question is. So, but anyone that's starting a new business, it's tough. There are hard days, but keeping true to your vision and what you're trying to achieve is a really big thing. But I think also sharing your ideas with other people. We all really like to overprotect our ideas. We think that we're smarter and have the greatest new solution. And in truth, I think there's a lot of power in being able to share ideas and get better from other people. So the more you talk about your ideas, the more you learn where there are problems and where you can improve them. And the more you'll get feedback from people that get excited about what you're working on, so you can make it better. So I think that's, if I could offer one piece of advice, that would be one of the pieces of advice. I have many others, but for now, that's the one I would offer most.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Ryan. Just one more question. How do you get manufacturers to actually? How do you get them to kind of change their production system so that they would embrace the green product concept that you have? But I know that you start with the customers, hear their voice, collecting data, and then you push forward to the manufacturers. But has that been going well? How many manufacturers have you been able to work with?
Okay, that's a really good question, because it is like I mentioned earlier, it's a supply and demand chicken egg kind of problem. The manufacturers want to know there are a ton of designers using the information for them to react, but it only takes one designer in some cases. So this is a great story actually. We did a sales pitch to a manufacturer, and he says, no, this is a ridiculous idea, I don't like it, I don't buy in at all. So he ended up going to one of the biggest architecture companies to have a sales meeting with them the next day, and this is one of our partners that we work with quite closely. And that partner said, are you in Giga? How do you rank in Giga? I want to see your product in Giga. 2 days later, that manufacturer called us and said, hey, we'd really like to get involved in your system. And so it just takes the power of one person to actually start to do this. So it's just the way that we work right now, because we are small. We currently work with, we have, how many products? We have over 300 manufacturers and 1,000 products in the database right now, which is small. It's not a big number actually. There are hundreds of thousands of materials that we want to be touching. So we're still at a small scale, but what we do to get there is we work with the limited resources that we have. So we see what are the critical points that we need to get to in order to make this successful, and how do we get there with spending the least amount of time and money. Okay. And for us, it's working with designers to help us be our advocates. So we get them in line with our vision, and if the customer is the one that's saying it, that's actually way more important than me as the entrepreneur saying, oh, buy into our business. But the end user, the guy that actually is getting the leverage for the manufacturer saying it, that's how we make it work.